Now, straight away, ladies and gentlemen, the total package, including if you wanted furnished housing, gardeners, cooks, Mercedes-Benz cars, because these are part of British American Tobacco, it's a multinational. Your total package you would get would be about ₹1,000,000 a month, not a year. Huh? The total package would amount to about ₹1,000,000 a month. That was my guess, not having gone into it in detail. So when I was trying to get out of it, my friend, the chartered accountant, said, "Are you aware of the package that you will get?" I said, "Not quite, but I could very well guess." I said, "However, look, what I am saying is, this is not to talk about me. In fact, I am rather reluctant to mention stories like this. But rather than my talking in abstract fashion to you, I think this you will understand better because this is the actual true episode. Now, because I had a scheme or scale of values. And in any scale of values, money is not everything. Material things are not everything. Why? Also why? There are many reasons why. Also because there is a thing called death. Nobody refers to death because they are all scared. I have seen groups like yours, when I sometimes talk to them and I talk about death, their face changes. Why? It's a very natural thing. And at the end of the day, you are not taking all your wealth away with you, no? In that sense. You take nothing material. There are spiritual beliefs of every religion, yes, and that in different ways all religions are unanimous. And that is, yes, there is something to take. And that is good deeds, good behavior, merit of various forms, from dana to anything, giving to. And so, you are therefore you have to work out your value base. I feel very comfortable. I feel very comfortable with rejecting that enormous amount of money that I might have got. That comfort which I have, being able to reject it, no money can buy. It's very peculiar, I can't describe it. I think many other people have the same experience. There's a sense of well-being, relaxation, being unafraid of anything, they're very difficult. It gives you unimagined benefits. Because two things are very dangerous, in my view. These are points of view. I'm not asking you to just take them as they are. You must think. Great poverty is a curse. Great poverty, or really poverty, is a curse. Sometimes the bigger curse is great wealth. Because many people do not know, many people do not know how to handle power. Many people do not know how to handle wealth. Every day I would pray that I never get $1 million, never. But one does not know what it will do to you. Because at the end of the day, you still have one mouth, one stomach, one system. Just because you have 500 million rupees, you can't eat much more, except do all kinds of things that may ruin you. Handling, that is why many countries which have got oil wealth have ruined themselves, including Venezuela now. Sudden wealth can't be handled. Not easy. Right. I hope I have finished that part. I've also got on to the issue of values now, second part. I'm on the second part of what I want to tell you. Now, when you are working out your values, now I'm telling you to think, because there's a counter argument. Because you are now university students, you have to think. You must not believe in slogans. Certain part, useless. Certain part is like a drug. You put that in, then you stop thinking. Like parrots, you say that. Now, this very example I gave you, you have to work out your own standards. I am not prescribing standards to you. No, you all are people who should now start thinking. On the other hand, there are counter-arguments. This is a legitimate company, recognized by government, all over the world, subject to that warning on the cigarette packet. It's a legitimate activity to sell cigarettes. And there are so many things. And if you get a good income from a legitimate activity, not an illegal activity, what is wrong? I don't know. But all I can say is, I'm not saying that is wrong either. All I'm saying is, my discomfort, because that's how I have worked out my scale of values. So I'm not prescribing anything to you. At universities, at a university level, we should not prescribe. We must give you the alternatives. And you must figure it out for yourself, based on the values of our society. Then when you are also working out the values, you have to be also conscious of another thing. That is your ego, the mamatva. More ego you have, the more distorted your vision gets. Why? All the time you are thinking of yourself. To that extent you are expending mental energy and so on, to which that energy should be directed in other directions. Again, I'll give you a quick example, this time from cricket. I think cricket is understood by many because it's such a popular game in Sri Lanka. The great West Indian left-hand batsman Brian Lara, he was an enormous talent, and as he came into the West Indian side, incidentally Brian Lara was one batsman who tamed Muthaiya Muralidharan. Murali could never bowl and do anything with Brian Lara. And of course he holds the world record, 400 not out against England in a test match. This brilliant talent was recognized very early. And in his early days, he used to play some outstanding strokes out of the book. Sheer genius. But he kept on getting out at 70s, 80s. He was now getting worried. He couldn't get up to 100, never got a century. and he was getting frustrated. Something happened. Sometime he got into early 90s, got out. So he asked the famous Sir Garfield Sobers. Anybody who knows cricket would have heard of Sir Garfield Sobers, the great West Indian and world cricketer and captain of West Indies. And he asked, "Sir, I have a problem. Everybody says I am very good. I feel I am not bad, but I just can't get 100. Sir Garfield Sobers told him, "Son, that is because of your anxiety to get the 100. That is because you are thinking of yourself. I will tell you something. When you go out to bat, don't think of yourself. Think of the West Indian side. That every run you get is important for the West Indian side. Forget about yourself. Because this is a team game. And you are playing not for yourself, you are playing for the West Indies, a great cricketing nation." Lara was intelligent, he got the point. He realized that he was too self-centered, he was too anxious, it was an ego. I have to do this, I must get my 100. And he had written that with Sir Garfield was not only a cricketer, he obviously was a great psychologist. He said, moment he forgot about himself and just went on batting for his country, he started getting his 100s. So you see, again, all this is in our ancient wisdom. That you must not have a big ego. That the higher you go, the simpler you must become. And if you go to the highest levels, you must be as simple as a child. That is in our ancient wisdom. Why? That is what leads to mental health. If all the time you are wrapped up in your ego, you don't see anything else. You don't see anybody else. That is why you get all these jealousies. Look at professional jealousy. Look at jealousy among families, brothers and sisters. Why? The world is large enough for everybody. There is enough space. So what happens? It is a system of internal corrosion. It's like an acid. And this is all in our ancient, part of our ancient wisdom which we have completely forgotten. And the other thing, young people, particularly when you come to the university, you are very fond of the phrase Samaja Asadharani. Samaja Asadharani. Now I want to tell you one or two things. Where is it stated? Which part of the world, in which book? That life must be totally fair. Where is it stated? Who has said that life must be fair? No, life is very often unfair. But you have to manage that and get over it. Not talk about Samaja Sadhana. A lot of people who have come up, I can name names, got over that. You carry on. And having been on university councils, I can also tell you, and you must not get into that position, because I told you are now at a higher level, that you do the most disgusting thing, including sometimes stabbing a student, and then you say, no, it's not my fault. This is society's fault. This is because I am a victim of the Samaja Sadhana. No, won't do. Those days are past. You have to take full responsibility for yourself, for your life, for your acts. Yes, I am not saying that there is no such thing called Samaja Sadhana. There is. But then there is a way of tackling that. You don't tackle that through murder and destruction of property and closing down universities. Then what about the asadharani to all the other people who want to learn? So the first thing in your, and also one of the most important things in the scale of values, Harapaddhatiya, is to be able to take as adults. Now you all are adults. You are not children. Is the ability to take responsibility. Not fob off things with excuses. Because unless you face the facts and take responsibility, you will never progress. You have to bear that in mind. And with that comes, based on your values, or the Vatinakam or the Harapaddhatiya, also comes attitudes, akalpa. Now, if there was a glass of water here, say this is a glass of water and it is at this level, someone could say that that glass was half full. Somebody else could say the glass was half empty. Both are right. If the water is at the middle of the glass, it's a question of attitude, interpretation. Glass is half full is also right. Glass is half empty is also right. What you choose to say would depend on your outlook and your attitude, your akalpa. Therefore, as I said, don't fool yourself or cheat yourself with excuses. You have got a rare chance. There are almost 21 million people in this country. How many are you? Virtually you can count on the fingers of two hands. So you are a very privileged, through your own efforts you have come here. That we have to honor. We have to say congratulations. But now you must sustain it. Don't give excuses to yourself. Because that's not the way the world works. You have to work with the world. The world is not going to stop to adjust to your personal attitudes. World won't stop. You will find that. Before you find it painfully, you must realize it now. That is not to say that you don't take up any issues you want to take, that you are critical of certain things, but there's a way. I remember when I was secretary to the Ministry of Education and Higher Education, one of my ministers, because I had more than one minister, was Mr. Jayewardenepura, Oxford and Harvard. When people came to meet him, either trade unions or students' unions or associations, he used to tell them one thing: you can tell me anything you want. You can be very critical of me and my policies. You can give your alternate points of view. Everything is on the table, you can say anything. But you shall always be polite. But you shall always be polite. Because that's how society works. Society can't work through intimidation, duress, and by frightening people. That's not the way society works. And coming and speaking of Mr. Jayewardenepura, let me also say, I said we take a lot of things for granted. One of the things we take for granted is free education. Practically there is no country in the world, including the socialist countries, where university education is free. This is a unique country. Please cherish this country. And not only that, because of the vision of Mr. Jayewardenepura, you have a thing called the Mahapolo. And I think you get about 2,500 rupees or so a month, free. I want to tell you, when I used to meet foreign persons from Asia, including India, they couldn't understand this. They used to say, what? Entire university education is free? And then about Mahapolo, they said, what? You mean that's a student loan scheme? I said, no. The concept doesn't enter their heads. They know student loan schemes where you pay back. They have never heard of free education and a student grant scheme. Never heard. And I have had to spend some time to tell them that I am not mad, I am telling the correct position, because they just keep their mouth open. You say, what? No, those are things we should cherish. We should honor those people. That's why I say we have to be samvedi. Significances we have to look at. We have to think occasionally about Dr. C.W.W. Kannangara. That is what gave equity and opportunity in our society, his free education. We must think of that man. We must think of Lalita. Nothing to do with politics. In all of us, there is the good and the bad. We must spare a thought for Mr. Jayewardenepura, who used the money he earned from his Mahapolo fairs in the Ministry of Trade and Shipping. He started this trust fund. And the chairman of the trust fund is the Chief Justice of Sri Lanka. I know because I have been on the Mahapolo board ex officio as the secretary. And the meetings are held in the Chief Justice's chamber in Halstorf. Mahapolo board meets in the Chief Justice's chamber in Halstorf. So please remember this. And am I going over the time? And on this attitude thing, let me give you an example from your own chosen field of medicine. Unfortunately, fortunately, unfortunately, the person I'm going to talk about now is has closely related to my wife, but that doesn't invalidate the example, because one must hold that while relationship should not be an advantage, it should not be also a disadvantage. I'm speaking about Dr. Anthony's. Dr. Anthony's has a reputation of having been a very good surgeon. That's all I would say. Some people even say more. But by all accounts, he has been a very good surgeon. Now, I'm talking about attitudes now. Huh? I'm not talking about Dr. Anthony's. But this is an illustration of what I want to get into your heads. Mr. W.T. Jayewardenepura was the secretary to the then Ministry of Defence and External Affairs, when I was secretary to the Prime Minister. And he and I worked very closely together. We had to, because the Prime Minister was also at that time Minister of Defence and External Affairs, Mr. Bandaranaike. Now he is dead. Unfortunately, his son, Ramesh Jayewardenepura, a very distinguished son of a distinguished father, also died young. This year, at the age of 56, he was our Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, father and son, but both outstanding public servants. And young Ramesh died of a cancer in the stomach, and unfortunately, I still look upon it with great sorrow. From diagnosis to death was just 6 months. From diagnosis to death, matter of 6 months, and he died this year. I'm talking about the elder Mr. Jayewardenepura. One day he told me his mother